Okay, I'm here. I'm here. I had a few problems with my stream. A minute late, but I'm here. Now, this is a random stream. I didn't even prepare much for it. And I'll try not to be too long on this stream. But this channel, I want to just talk about whatever. I don't care how crazy it is or if I have enough evidence to, prove. I'm okay with theories, theorizing. A while ago, someone left this comment on my channel, right? Marlon Dobson. He said, I love your talks about culture and history, but I don't believe in fairy tales. It diminishes our ancestors' achievements when you say or reference aliens, even if we are the aliens. White people believe in advanced civilization like the fabled Atlanteans built the pyramids or aliens built the pyramids. There's no validity in those statements, but African spirituality and the study of the celestial sky was their inspiration. The Nubians and the Kemites built the strongest and stable structure known to man and can only be made by the most ancient, civilized, genius people on earth. Right? End quote. Now, this stream was inspired by this comment, right? So I want to sort of address this comment. Now, first of all, I know what he's talking about. A lot of people, they're trying to attribute the building of the pyramids and I guess of Egypt in general. They want to give credit to aliens, Martians from outer space. And in doing that, they will also suggest, that theory also suggests black people had nothing to do with it. So yes, in that sense, that makes sense. Right? You don't want to do that. You don't want to raise people to believe that their history is actually not their history and instead some Martian's history that you've never seen. Right? So with that in mind, also consider the flip side. There's a flip side. And it just is what it is. You can't get away from it. And that is that when you talk about Egyptian history or their technology or whatever, whether you want to admit it or not, you're also talking about extraterrestrial intelligence. There's no way around it. You're talking about intelligence far beyond what we have today. In a sense, that's what is considered extraterrestrial. So if long ago black people had intelligence on the level of extraterrestrials, then it is what it is. First of all, people have problems with theories. And they have a problem with people who deal with theories. And I want to point out there's nothing wrong with that. Powerful people theorize. It's almost a standard practice in science to theorize. Nobody else is afraid of coming up with theories, only black people, as far as I'm aware. Don't talk about no theories or nothing like that. But I think that is a hindrance, and it can only hold you back. I think theories are okay. Just examine them. Look for anything that could be damaging or negative or work against you, and go from there. But when it comes to history, man, that's like standard practice with these historians. A lot of it is all about theory. Look at how powerful Darwin's theory was. It still has influence to this day, even in the universities. Darwin, and that's all a theory. His theory that humans evolved from the apes or chimpanzees and so on and so forth. In his theory, Darwin's theory has emboldened a lot of people today, inspired them to do many different things. His theory actually instills a great deal of self-esteem into certain people, right? Follow me. If you have a theory, for example, the Egyptians dealt with theory, dealt with myths, not because they felt it was true, but because it had a positive effect, a positive impact on the population. So it doesn't have to be true. There could be a group of people who believe they're descended from angels with absolutely no proof. But if that belief encourages them to behave like angels, hey, I want them to keep believing that. I don't have no problem with it. You got another example with Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. They had the theory that the white race was a race of devils, right? The Nation of Islam. Now, is that a harmful belief? Did it lead them to attack white people and do bad things to them? No, it didn't. They were against breaking the law. They actually upheld the Constitution, the Nation of Islam, under Elijah Muhammad. And that belief that whites were devils, I'm pretty sure white people didn't appreciate that. Most white people who heard that, they didn't appreciate that. But that belief encouraged a lot of black people to stop smoking cigarettes, to get off alcohol, to not do drugs or get off drugs. Admit it or not, it had a positive impact on a lot of people. They felt like, hey, I don't want anything that comes from the devil. So you can keep the cigarettes, pass me the apple, the oranges. This was good. And as long as they were not going out harming other people, their belief is harmless, in my opinion. And I could say the same thing about white nationalists, white supremacists. If there are some white supremacists out there who treat people based on their skill and whatever, character, yet they still believe that the white race is superior, and that belief drives them to do better in school or whatever, hey, more power to you. You can't stop people from generating their own motivation, being motivated by whatever they want to be motivated by. And with some of them, it's their belief that their race is intellectually superior. Hey, knock yourself out. Have at it. So I don't mind these weird theories, and I'm going to get into one of them on this video. All right, let's get into it. I wasted too much time already. Another thing with this comment, this man, he said the Nubians and the Kemites. Now, I don't like when people say that, as if these two different people. The Egyptians were nothing but Nubians who had migrated to Egypt. Right? It's only been foreigners who separated those people, the people of that river. The people of that river, the Nile River, were all the same. They were all the same in ancient times. So, this is why I consider black people to be a mysterious, people of mysterious origin. People of, now, they should talk like this and have subjects like this on the History Channel, on different channels. We don't have that. We don't have nobody, offering theories, theorizing. So that's what I'm here to do. Right? These people have mysterious origin. They are a very old organism. Don't think of humans as humans. Get that out of your mind. Just look at all of us as organisms. It's really no big deal. No big deal when you theorize that black people have been on this planet for millions, maybe billions with a B, of years. There's nothing far-fetched about that at all. And please, okay, yeah. Check this out. Now, I just came across this a few days ago. You can look this up. Why some scientists believe life may have started on Mars. Now, this is scientists theorizing. Nobody jumps on their case for theorizing. It's like they get a free pass to theorize like this. But when black people come around and try to do the same thing, other black people, don't do that. Don't do that. There's no evidence of that. We don't believe in no fairy tales, blah, blah, blah. Right? You don't have to believe in it, but I'm gonna go places where most people won't on this channel. Now, you see a lot of people who theorize that blacks are less intelligent. You still got the IQ test going around. You know, that blacks are closer to the chimpanzees than everybody else. Nobody gives them a hard time. You know, they're free to theorize. And do you know how many people that has influenced? Where they genuinely now believe that they are superior, right? So if nothing else, videos like this serve to push back against some of those harmful, very harmful narratives and theories. But, you know, we are simply organisms in the universe. And there's nothing surprising. It's not a big deal if black people have been on this planet for millions, maybe billions of years. It would make sense. This is a very old solar system, very old universe. And as intelligent as humans are, I think it's an insult to suggest that humans only showed up on the planet 200,000 years ago, as modern science does. Whereas they theorize that horses and giraffes has been on this planet for 50 million years, 80 million years. All these other animals, they say, have been on this planet for tens of, sometimes hundreds of millions of years, except for humans, the most intelligent creatures, who you would imagine would have needed more time to evolve, right? The greater your intelligence, why doesn't that suggest that it required a longer period of evolution? So I believe humans have been on this planet just as long as these animals. Millions upon millions of years. And that should concern you and other history students. Because right now, we only deal with a tiny portion of human history. We only deal with the past, what? Really, past 500 years. But let's say the past 1,500. Let's say the past 4,000, 6,000 years. That's not long. That's a tiny window in the lifespan of the human species. So there's a lot we don't know in regard to our history, especially in regard to our origin. So I think it's fun to theorize about stuff like this. So scientists do the same thing. I'm going to join with these scientists and dive into this. They believe life may have started on Mars. Though the idea that life started on Mars before migrating on Earth sounds to some far-fetched, many renowned scientists take that theory seriously. The general idea of life starting elsewhere in space before migrating here has a name. Panspermia. They even gave it a name. This theory that life started on other planets. All modern life forms descended from a single cell organism that lived about 3.9 billion years ago, only 200 million years after the first appearance of liquid water. Right? Again, only 200 million years after the first appearance of liquid water, 3.9 billion years ago. And they talk about how we know about the oldest rocks on Earth. They have chemical evidence of carbon isotopes, tracing back nearly 4 billion years ago. And they say that that tells us that life started forming on Earth almost as soon as it was possible for it to happen. So the moment life on Earth was possible, they're saying that it's possible that that is when life started. That is when human beings may have first appeared on this Earth, billions of years ago. So there's nothing really far-fetched when you look at it from that perspective. Now, this is a very short clip. I'm going to play this and proceed with commentary after this over. I think it's only like 3, maybe 4 minutes long. All right, check this out.
Giza Plateau, Egypt. The Great Pyramid is arguably the most enigmatic structure on the face of the earth. It is the only surviving wonder of the ancient world.
Now, let me stop right there. They said it is the only surviving wonder of the ancient world. In other words, there are no other wonders from the ancient world that even exist. I showed a list on a previous video. Hopefully I can find the article. All these other ancient wonders, they don't even exist. You can't even find them. They are nowhere to be found. More evidence that this civilization is extremely, extremely old.
And has inspired endless speculation as to how it was built and what purpose it served.
Ever since the first studies of the Great Pyramid in Egypt have been made, researchers have been amazed at the mathematical knowledge that is encoded into the Great Pyramid, the measurements that are used in it. Even the placement of the Great Pyramid has aroused great interest among Egyptologists.
The Great Pyramid is aligned to within 3/60ths of a degree of north, a more accurate alignment than any other structure on Earth.
But when you look at the Great Pyramid's alignment, it's aligned very, very close to true north. Even more interesting is to think about tracking back in time, because the Earth's axis has been shifting slowly. It's what we call precesses. And so if there's been a shift in that alignment, it could be that it was even more accurately aligned to north in the past when they built it.
The Great Pyramid is not only perfectly aligned to the cardinal points, its placement on the Earth is seemingly intentional as well.
If you pass a great circle from the Great Pyramid through its cardinal and its ordinal directions, what you find is that these circles will pass through more landmass of the Earth than any other location on the Earth. You find that the Great Pyramid is essentially located at the center of the world's landmass.
No, let's stop right there. That is extraterrestrial knowledge right there. Level knowledge. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying that the possibility is there that black people as organisms originated on other planets. Space travel has already taken place. Now, how would they figure out where the center of the Earth's landmass, how could they possibly figure that out? That's next level intelligence, man. Do you think it's a coincidence? It just happened to be there, square in the center of the Earth's landmass? And it's at the center of the Earth's landmass, even though the landmass is not joined together. Right? It would be more believable or understandable how they figured it out if there was just one big giant landmass on the planet. No, it's distributed, separated by oceans. So, it's hard to argue that blacks absolutely no way possible have lineage this so old it stretched beyond this planet. When you got feats of intelligence this seemingly impossible, right? That's pretty crazy to me. It's not only aligned perfectly with north, south, east, west, it's in the center of the Earth's landmass. That's ridiculous.
The Great Pyramid was built at the level of technological sophistication far in excess of anything that we have today.
Okay, but yeah, there's no proof that this is all fairy tale though. They left so much evidence that they were highly, highly advanced, almost as if they knew at some point human intelligence would regress again. Right? This is unexplainable stuff. This is extraterrestrial level intelligence. It wouldn't surprise me at all if black people long ago migrated to this planet. Right? And let me point out, a lot of people come here and if you're, oh, that's racist what you're saying. Saying black people, who you think you are, you're gods, you think you hop from planet to planet, you think you're that special and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a job, it's a task having to deal with these people. But the fact is, nobody has a problem with any of the other theories. It's only when you theorize based on facts, based on evidence, anything about black people that does not cast them in a negative light, right? I'm not going to pay any attention to that narrative here, right? You can show black people starving to death with their rib cage sticking out, face full of flies, and, that's just fine. Talk about how, they don't score as well on the IQ. Talk about all the crimes they committed and all this kind of stuff, all the arson and all that's perfectly fine. So I don't want to hear no pushback when you dealing with stuff like this. Black people are the oldest organisms on this planet as far as humans go. So if anybody has lineage to go beyond this planet, it's the oldest people on the planet. And that would not surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
They don't use the inch as we normally have it in the English system. It's the cubit. And what's interesting about this cubit is that it is exactly 1/25 millionth of the polar diameter of the Earth, meaning the distance from the North Pole to the South Pole of the Earth. Chop it up into 25 million pieces. There's your cubit. It's perfect.
So if you actually take the length of the Great Pyramid at its mean socket level, which is the corners of the actual building, it translates into 365.24 pyramid cubits, which just happens to be the Earth a year right down to a quarter day.
Did you catch that? Did y'all catch that? Here, let me go back. I got time.
Corners of the actual building.
Chop it up into 25.
So if you actually take the length of the Great Pyramid at its mean socket level, which is the corners of the actual building, it translates into 365.24 pyramid cubits, which just happens to be the Earth a year right down to a quarter day.
The measurements of the length and width of the perimeter of the Great Pyramid. correspond to an exact fraction of both the latitude and longitude measurements at the equator. Scaled up, this means the Great Pyramid directly corresponds to the circumference of the equator, as well as the measurement from the equator to the pole, making it a scale model of the Northern Hemisphere.
So they would have had to have known the dimensions of the planet itself. You telling me this ain't no ET level knowledge, intelligence? This is crazy. Who built this? Some primitive hunter-gatherers? Is that what I'm supposed to believe? No, some people on a whole different level built this thing.
If you take the location of the Great Pyramid as a coordinate, this number sequence of this coordinate matches exactly the speed of light traveling through space, measured in meters per second. This is amazing stuff.
Right? You catch that?
When you consider the vast amount of information about the Earth that's encoded into the Great Pyramid, you can't just dismiss all of this as pure coincidence.
Can't be coincidence. In other words, whoever built this thing knew the measurements of the planet. So if people came from a different planet, at that time, they knew the planet, maybe even before they came to it. But after they arrived, they had to have studied the entire planet, its size, its measurements. Who does that? And for what? That to me sounds like activities carried out by extraterrestrials. Extraterrestrials. See, this is what they don't want to talk about, this kind of stuff on History Channel and stuff like this. But there's a small elite group of people who know full well that humans have a very crazy, mysterious, incredible origin. Very much so. And it's unfortunate for the racists because they can't appreciate information like this because it's black people. It took place in Africa. They made contact with Africans. And the Martians were actually, these were black people. If that's true, the white racists, they can't appreciate this information at all. They would only appreciate it if this was all pointing towards Ireland or somewhere else in Europe. Right? So too bad for them. But I'm telling you right now, I don't care what race of people, what group, what tribe they were. If they showed some evidence that they came from outer space, I'm going to talk about it right here on this channel. Right? So right now, we dealing with super black people. And that's what I think is up there operating those spacecrafts right now. Just some old organisms. Ain't nothing spectacular about that whatsoever. So just some old organisms, been around for a long, long time. That's who controlling those things. Look, I got witnesses. I got receipts. We're going to get into that. But I'm not going to get into all this crazy mathematics in regard to the pyramid. You have to do your own research. To be honest, most of it I don't even understand myself. It's a squared circle, squaring the circle. They got all these complex mathematics that they found within the pyramid, right? The Kepler triangle. This is all found. This is the golden ratio. You find pi in the Great Pyramid. Right? You find all this different types of stuff in the pyramid. Very, very low margin of error in the construction of the pyramid. I mean, you're talking about 0.034%. crazy stuff. The Great Pyramid contains the diameter of the Earth and the Moon, right? The squaring of the circle in the Great Pyramid of Giza, shown in Figure 8 diagram, allows precise determination in the diameter of both the Earth and the Moon. You only need to draw an inscribed circle inside the square, in a small circle centered at the apex, tangent with the preceding one. At each side, on the top of them, there are two exact, well, it's a Pythagorean. Man, look, I'm not going to try to understand this. You have to do your own research. But listen, man, this is next level intelligence, building, and all of that. All of that. So look, if you got a group of people on the planet who left crazy evidence like this, that they used to be on a whole nother level, I don't think it's far-fetched to theorize that their lineage, their ancestors, long ago, at some point, came from a whole different planet. Whole different planet. I don't think it's far-fetched at all. I believe in other solar systems, you find the same thing. Intelligent beings that have lived on more than one planet. Right? There seems to be no limit to the intelligence of human beings. Like I said, the human brain is something else. It appears we can draw a single conclusion from all of the preceding. The architects of the Great Pyramid of Giza were extremely wise beings with an advanced knowledge of math and astronomy, far beyond the standard of their time, and I would say far beyond our own current knowledge. This is the words from a scientist. Many of you heard about all these UFO files that have been released to the public, and they're basically admitting to all the unidentified aerial phenomena. It's all real. It's all been verified. NASA Administrator Bill Nelson on Sunday said he does not think that humans are alone in the universe, following the release of a United States intelligence report that revealed the U.S. government has encountered more than 140 unidentified aerial phenomena, or UFOs. Right? This is fairly recent news where they reveal all of this. So the government officials, endless number of them, pilots, ex-military men, NASA workers, people in the high ups, they've gone on record confirming that these things actually exist. I talked about the alleged former Area 51 employee who called into radio show with Art Bell, right? Let's briefly deal with that.
On the night of September 11th, 1997, a clearly distressed man phoned Art Bell's popular coast-to-coast AM radio station, claiming that he was an employee at Area 51 and he didn't have much time. The unknown caller tells Art that he was let go on medical discharge around a week ago, and it is clear to hear how scared the man is. As he proceeds, he begins to cry. The man proceeds to tell the station that he has been running across the country ever since his discharge from Area 51, and pretty soon they will be able to triangulate his position and seemingly silence him. The line starts to break up as Art advises him to quickly give the listeners something. Still audibly distressed, the mysterious caller advises listeners that what people believe to be aliens in Area 51 are actually extra-dimensional beings, and that contact was made by an earlier incarnation of the current space program.
Listen to that. Did you catch that? He said these are actually extra-dimensional beings, that contact was made by an earlier incarnation of the current space program. That probably confused a lot of people. But do you understand what they're saying? They're saying that there was an earlier group of people on the planet who had made contact with intelligent beings from other planets. That group of people existed before the current space program. That it was an earlier version of the current space program. The current space program he's talking about is the one that was built by Europeans. So he's basically saying these aliens, what we call aliens, made contact with primitive people. Right? Primitive people. The actual audio is on here.
He advises that they are not what they claim to be, and that the military...
That the aliens are not what the government officials claim that the aliens are. It sounds to me like this mysterious man saw a Negro. I hate to use that term, but I want to sort of hammer this home. Saw a Negro when he thought he was going to look at an alien. Look, when Europeans went around the planet for the first time, everywhere they went, they found black people. Everywhere they went. And whenever they would go to a certain spot and they would dig and find an earlier civilization that had been buried, every time they did that, they found remnants of black people. So why is it far-fetched that even when they saw one of the beings that drive these vehicles, they saw black people? I don't rule that out at all. I don't rule that out at all. It wouldn't be surprising to me at all.
The government, and Area 51 in particular, have already been infiltrated. The unknown caller then goes on to say that the government knows of the upcoming disasters and that they know of the many areas in the world that are safe they could begin to move the population to.
Okay, I won't play that audio. But Art Bell got the call from this guy. This guy said, these are extra-dimensional beings that a precursor to the space program made contact with. Now, how would he know that? How would he know? What would tell him that these creatures made contact with a group of people before the modern space program? The only way he could conclude that is if he saw something on these creatures that connected them to some group of people on the planet today. Something. Clothing, maybe. Maybe their identity. How they actually look. Right? Their biological existence. He looked and said, wow, that's a Negro. Right? What else is he talking about? What previous space program are you talking about, man? Who they make contact with? That's all I'm asking. What are you talking about? What is this former NASA employee talking about? Pay close attention to this. Now look, I don't get nothing out of, I'm far past the stage of trying to tell black people stuff to boost their self-esteem. I have no interest in doing that. I'm not trying to tell you nothing to make you feel good about being black. If you ain't reached that point by now, I'm just not the person to help you through with that. I'm far decades past that. I'm not qualified to give you no pep talk or no inspirational, motivational speech. This is simply a theory that I was forced into based on the limited evidence available. Now listen to this. This is the infamous interview from a former NASA employee.
Okay, but if there are craft, there are beings.
Okay, people have asked me.
She's asking him about the beings on the spacecrafts. The beings on the spacecrafts.
And if you want to know about people kind of thing, there is the ship that picked up the Voyager capsule at Alameda Naval Shipyard, and they have a picture there of I think it's the Apollo flight that Bugs and Neil were on. But anyway, there is one image there that shows black people getting off.
So this man says they have an image at this naval base or whatever. They have a photo there of a spacecraft. And in the photo, he said there's an image there of black people getting off.
That shows black people getting off.
So people with dark skin getting off.
Not dark, black.
Yeah. People. What is a person? A person ain't no Martian. If he saw some little mutated looking Martians, why would he call them people? Why would he call them people? He said on the photo there's black people getting off a spaceship. Hey, I'm not speaking for him. I'm not pulling nothing out of thin air. This is what he said.
People getting off.
And look how he looks at her. As if to tell her, you know, I said black people, and that's what I meant. That's the look he gave her.
There is one image there that shows black people getting off.
He looking at her like, you know black people, right? You know what I'm talking about. I ain't talking about no dark-skinned Martians. I'm talking about Negroes. Man, and you see, a lot of these people, they seem like they get shot when they see it. Like, what? A Negro? They expect to see some funny-looking Martian, and they see a Negro. Wouldn't surprise me at all. And she tried to sort of change what he said, and he corrected her.
So people with dark skin getting
People with dark skin.
off.
Not dark, black.
Black skin.
Really black.
Not dark black. You could tell she was trying to steer him away from that narrative. Like, oops, you said black people. Oops, mistake. You're not supposed to say that. So I don't know, man. I don't know. It sounds to me that it's very possible. Black people. And hey, look, if anybody got a problem with this, hey, don't even consider me black. Only consider the pure Africans black. Or whatever. We've lost. And what good is this information going to do me anyway? It won't do us no good here today. Well, it can help you feel like you're somebody. It can help boost self-esteem, definitely. You know, if you really start to believe that you got extraterrestrial lineage, quite sure, yeah, it could make some people feel like they're somebody admirable. You know, to know that your ancestors did these great things. Yeah. But I'm seeing too many clues, too much evidence. Most of you are familiar with the Dogon. Explain it. You know? Explain it. The scientists can't explain it. I can't explain it.
These dances, these masks, these strange rituals have meaning. They describe precisely the relationship between a remote African tribe and the heavens. This tribe believes all life comes from a distant dark star, invisible to the naked eye.
Now, people, my thing is, why would a primitive people, why would they have this type of knowledge? For what? It don't have nothing to do with keeping you alive. This ain't got nothing to do with obtaining food or water. Why put so much energy into something like this? Think about that.
Recently, modern science was able to find this star and confirm its existence. Now we must ask, how did a primitive people, lacking instruments of any kind, discover a dark star hidden deep in space? In Central Africa, among fortress-like cliffs on the southern edge of the Sahara Desert, live a people called the Dogon. 1,000 years ago, fleeing from warring tribes, the Dogon found refuge here.
1,000 years ago, fleeing from warring tribes. That's another way of saying these people migrated from East Africa. Just like almost all groups in West Africa made recent migrations within the past 1,000 or a couple thousand years or so because of the emergence of foreigners who came and took over and waged war on Northeast Africa, particularly Nubia and Egypt. That was the home of all the wealth of the world. The gold, all of the world's wealth, all the world's wonders was right there on the Nile River. It sustained multiple attacks over many decades, millennia.
Dogon have endured and preserved mysterious ancient knowledge. Knowledge of an invisible star and its movements through the heavens. The hum of the bull roar is believed to be the voice of the sacred star.
Yeah, let me fast forward to this.
During the ceremony, the full spectrum of Dogon knowledge is revealed and passes from generation to generation.
Look at this.
A circle within a circle depicts Saturn and its rings, which can only be seen with a telescope. A large circle and 4 satellites. The planet Jupiter and its moons. Most remarkable is this symbol. It represents the orbit of the Dogon star, a phenomenon deep in stellar space.
So they got knowledge of the planets, information you should only know with a powerful microscope, telescope, and they know the exact location, the time of orbit of an invisible star you can't see unless you got a microscope. Even if you say, oh, well, black people long ago, they were just studying the stars in the sky. Well, why would they be doing that? If my primary concern is survival, obtaining food and water, I come back and I see my clan, my people looking up at the stars, you know, giving their time and energy to the movement of some doggone stars. No, I'm not going to be happy as the general. Why would they be doing that? What are they doing with this type of knowledge? For what? I suspect, the same as these scientists suspect, their ancestors came from a different planet. It's not that far-fetched.
Yet, no such orbiting star is visible from the Earth. It was not until this century that Western astronomers began to suspect its existence. A desert tribe called the Dogon, isolated in the African wilderness, may have identified a star invisible to the unaided eye.
Yeah.
Throughout most of Africa, the simple melodies of the shepherds' flutes reflect the unchanging pattern of village life. On the surface, there is little to separate the Dogon from countless other tribes. What makes the Dogon different is a unique social harmony maintained by strong tradition. Among these people, murder, theft, and suicide is all but unknown.
Murder, theft, and suicide is all but unknown. Any type of crime is all but unknown. And it's not just the Dogon. Several of them. And some of these villages are big, man, with hundreds of people. Some over 1,000 people. No crime. That's a culture that's extremely old. Today we talk about wars and this being a war-filled planet going back as far as, 4,000 years. So anybody holding on to a culture that don't produce war or crime, that's extremely, extremely old. There's just too much evidence, in my opinion, to totally dismiss it as a possibility.
Greed is rare. Disputes are settled by debate in open forum.
Disputes settled by debate in open forum. Okay, it's a courtroom. Right? That's all that is. Elders are in charge. So somebody gonna have to explain to me how they got that information, how they got that knowledge, and what they got it for. Seemingly serves no purpose. Seemed to me like just some extraordinary information they held on to because of how extraordinary it is. It's like, man, some things gonna burn into your memory and you don't ever want to forget it. You don't even have to try because it's so unbelievable. And some of these groups all over Africa, all over the planet, have held on to certain bits and pieces of information that are extraordinary. But to the modern mind, the modern ear, just sound like some hocus pocus fairy tale type stuff.
The Kalahari Desert, South Africa. Here, the native San Bushmen hold elaborate fireside rituals lasting for hours into the night. During these ceremonies, their shamans perform what's known as a trance dance, through which they reach an altered state of being and access other dimensions.
The trance dance is thought to activate an energy in their body called Noom. And this energy opens a portal of sorts that enables them to travel into the spirit world. And when the Bushmen activate this energy, they're able to put their hands in the fire without being burned. They can see vast distances, and it's as if in every way, shape, and form, they're transformed into super powerful beings.
By accessing the power of Noom energy, it is believed that a shaman who can extract illness, see the insides of the sick, and travel out of their own body to the land of the gods.
This number goes up the body, and then often it goes out of the crown of the head, and that's usually when the out-of-body experience occurs, and they travel to the spirit world. I've seen a Bushman put a coal in his mouth and he wasn't burnt.
Man, what are we talking about here? Why is there so much stuff like this across Africa with these people, doing stuff like this? Dancing, having some ceremonial dance by the fire that lasts for hours. Who got energy for stuff like that, man? You got food to grow, to pick, land to cultivate. This stuff is extremely important to these people. If they're willing to spend hours dancing, going into this trance, this is crazy stuff, man. and they show proof that they've done something really crazy by putting their hands up to fire, suddenly they can't feel pain? What is this?
Put their heads in the fire, and although their hair might singe and even catch fire, their face won't be burnt. So something is happening with this num energy. They call it boiling energy. It's almost like there's a vibrational change in their whole body and probably in their DNA in some way.
Could the so-called Num energy really be inherent in shamans, accessed only while in a sort of dream state?
Man,
and is it possible that the genetic makeup of these medicine men...
Listen, this is some crazy stuff. The human brain is capable of some crazy, crazy stuff that we really don't know, don't fully understand right now. All of the scientists will admit that, if nothing else, that the brain is extremely complex. Human brain, extremely complex. And that is more powerful and complex than the biggest computers on the planet. The human brain is more sophisticated than any computer, any supercomputer on this planet. Some of you have heard about the objects that they've found on Mars, right? They found objects and megaliths on the moon, right? I think it was some kind of tower on the moon they're talking about. What is that? Let me see if I can find that here. Yeah. Okay, no, we don't have a good photo of it yet. I have to include it in the next series. But yeah, and of course, we all know about Cydonia. That's in the thumbnail. All right, let me bring it up here. See if I can. Okay, here we go. Let me share my screen here. If I can, here you go. Right? See if I can get a better photo here. Okay, this is a good one. Right? Some of you know about these. It's just too many things, in my opinion, to completely rule it out. I'm not saying that it's definite, but at the same time, it's hard for me to say, no, it's not possible. If this is real, if this is a real photo, and I don't know why it would be fake. You know, maybe it's fake. Maybe just somebody created it. You know, anything is possible. They do a lot of crazy things, hoaxes. Remember the Piltdown Man? They gathered some bones from a pig and all this kind of stuff, all just to fake finding ancient human remains. They do stuff like that. But if this is a real photo, what is that? What are these things here? Natural rock. This is not natural rock formation. Natural rock formation does not have edges. You know, they don't come to a point. Right? What is this? Oh, I couldn't even, oh, that's not good. I couldn't download it. Right? What is this? Let me see if I can pull this up here. Okay, here we go. If I can get it'll blow it up a little bit. Again, if it's real, if this is a real photo, what are these? Look how they got edges here. These things look like structures. It look like structures that were made that are extremely, extremely old, weathered. Right? Buried under the ground, barely sticking out of the dirt. And the monuments look very familiar to the ancient monuments on Earth. Right? So over time, there has slowly been evidence spilling out into the public that suggests that black people in particular have extraterrestrial lineage. And that might not be the end of it. Because if that's true, then it's also possible that those beings are still making visits to this planet. And that's the scary part. For what? What are they doing? It feels like some type of big experiment. What's going on? Okay, you stop making contact with the humans on the planet. Stop making contact with them. Now you just seen in the sky here and there, flying around, monitoring human life. I suspect we're just guinea pigs. But I don't know, it's some type of social engineering going on. Crazy stuff. Somebody in the chat room left a comment. They said, you can do some research and videos on the reptilian race that is alleged to be living inside the earth, basically creating hybrid humans, and those hybrid humans are world leaders. I haven't even heard about that. Yeah, I have to do research on that first. I haven't even heard about that. Living inside the earth, that's another thing. We could have living creatures living inside the earth. They don't know what's deep down inside the earth. Right? Crazy stuff. How they're being on a solar planet in a solar system with no melanin. That's strange. Yeah, they said that that as recent as about 8,000 years ago, everybody on the planet had dark skin. They say some skin lightening gene or something swept through Asia and Europe around 8,000 years ago and lightened everybody up. That was allegedly the origin of different races on the planet. Right? So, yeah. I mean, they've admitted to all of that. Actually made the information public. Incorporate my view. Okay. Let's see here. Johnson. Okay. Posting origins. Oh, Anunnaki. I've heard about that. Blood doesn't come from Rahu's monkey. Yeah, I've heard about that. Anunnaki, Mesopotamian. But like I said in previous videos, I don't believe Mesopotamia. I believe there were people who lived over there. But those artifacts, those artifacts they found over there are fakes. They've created so much fake artifacts. It's pathetic. It's sad the way they've distorted history. Tried to create history rather than just going based on the evidence that they found. Fabricated a whole bunch of stuff. So how does this information help? It probably don't help nobody at all. And I'm not going over it to try to help anybody. Every video I make is not going to be intended to enlighten people. I'm a vlogger, I mean, if this is not your thing, you don't have to listen. Don't comment. Don't listen. Don't comment. I mean, if it's not your thing, you can listen. Just don't leave a comment. I'm not going to try to convince people to believe what I believe. And I don't expect people to try to get me to believe what they believe. All right, that's how we do in the world of grown people. But I've seen enough. I've seen enough evidence. I've heard enough testimony, enough interviews, and I'm totally convinced. I'm totally convinced that this is not the only planet that humans have lived on. It can't be. It can't be. This universe is too old. It's far too old for intelligent beings to have only lived on one planet, and that we are that first planet. Do you really believe we're the first planet to host intelligent life? I don't know. That's hard for me to believe. I believe, like most of these scientists, that there are many other planets with intelligent life, and they are many hundreds of thousands, millions of years more evolved than we currently are. I believe at one point the intelligent life on this planet had been millions of years evolved. And then something happened and knocked us back into, say, the Stone Ages, to a primitive level. Well, you have to imagine other intelligent life forms, they haven't had that happen to them. Where some, group of people who are not intelligent comes and wipes out the intelligence, throws the civilization back into the Stone Ages, they're still developed, right? They have, hundreds of thousands to millions of years under their belt, and they're just far more advanced than us on this planet currently. But I believe at one point, this planet was just like all the rest, was just like them. At least that's what the evidence suggests to me. And these entities that continue to visit this planet, they know that. They know that this planet used to be just like maybe their planet. And if they know that, and they know it currently is not, then they probably had something to do with the fact that it is currently no longer as advanced. So what is going on? These are just questions, man, that I ponder over in my mind. I'm just putting it out here on film. What's going on? What happened? Why? Whose decision was it to send us back into the Dark Ages? Right? To where we lost knowledge of our own history. How did that happen? So I don't believe mainstream's interpretation of history that humans started in Africa around 250,000 years ago, and they were primitive, almost ape-like hunter-gatherers, and they stayed that way for hundreds of thousands of years. Then for no reason, they started wandering out of Africa, away from the Nile River. For what? I mean, there's no way you're going to convince me that some hunter-gatherers, primitive people, are going to leave such a rich, fertile river like the Nile for what? Just to start wandering? Just to explore the world? You know how highly developed you have to be before you actually start to explore? You would have to be developed and be an intelligent explorer with the equipment that will allow you to make long journeys like that. Right? And they were sailing on water long ago. Where's the evidence? You have those people on those islands, in the Pacific Islands. I've talked about a couple of them, the Jarara on the Andaman Islands, who've been there for 50, 75,000 years on the island. Why would some hunter-gatherers go to an island like that? Why would they build a ship? They couldn't have got out there with no canoe. Why would they do that? For what? It's just proof to me, evidence to me. I'll say evidence that humans on this planet are extremely, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, maybe even billions of years old. And we are in a sort of era of reset, where evolution has been cut off. All the knowledge, the grandeur, the advanced Technology has all been taken, and we're going through some new phase of existence. What it is exactly, I have no idea. Right? And just as a side note, this is all my personal theory. Right? So that is all for this live stream. I will see you on the next.